every time something happened, I would impulsively make a decision to get out of that situation. So like I was in college, it was hard, I was drinking too much, I joined the military. The military was hard, I was getting sexually harassed and like told that I wasn't cut out for it, so I got out and went to nursing school. And then nursing made me realize that life is short and I'm gonna die from some obscure cancer someday, so I need to go through hike. And so I constantly was running, and when I left for the AT, I realized like I'm definitely doing that this time, but I'm hoping that this will help catalyze some other way to like manage my life.
Welcome to Backpacker Radio, presented by The Trek, brought to you by Topo Athletic. I'm your co-host, Zach Patrick Davis. Sitting to my right is...
Hi, I'm Juliana Chaunce, a.k.a. Chaunce.
Got a few reminders before we get to today's interview. First is Trek's newsletter. You should be on it. This is where all the good stuff happens. We could have an upcoming gear giveaway, going to be a massive giveaway. This is where we announce new job openings. Hope to have a new full-time person in 2026.
Really? Doing
we'll
what?
see. I'm actually kind of between two right now, so we'll see.
Okay, fine. Give me more details off air.
Yes.
I'm so curious.
I'm curious too. Important announcements, all the good stuff. But Trek newsletter is where it's happening. Link in the show notes. Also, if you guys want to support this podcast, you can do so through patreon.com/backpackerradio. For as little as $5 per month, you get to be one of our Patreons, and you get all of our episodes advertisement free. That's pretty sweet.
Yes, definitely a good time to be a Patreon, especially with all these Memorial Day sales and Labor Day sales and 4th of July sales. You don't want to hear the ads. It's just going to be tempting for you because there's so much good stuff there. So do yourself the favor of saving money by spending money on being a patron.
Yeah. Spend to save.
Yes.
Everyone knows that
Sometimes
one.
it takes money to make money.
Spend money to
Save money.
There you go. Last but not least, right now I am leaning toward bringing back Trail Correspondents for its 5th season next year, 2026. If you have the audio editing chops and ideally thru-hiking experience, I'm looking for a producer and host all in one bundle. Moron, Kenneth Barrero, obviously has done this in the past. If you've got similar chops and a great radio voice as he does, can't wait to get him on the podcast here one of these times. I was hoping to make like an impromptu something happen at Trail Days when he was out
tried.
there.
Everyone was against it.
It's hard at 8 p.m. when there's 100 people and everyone's drinking beer. It's not the...
I thought it was a great Patreon.
It would have been a fun Patreon episode for sure. But yeah, if you would be interested in being the producer and host for Trail Correspondents 2026, hit us up. The link for this opening will also be in the show notes. Okay. Let's get right to our interview with none other than Julia Rocket Sheehan. We are joined by today's guest, Julia Rocket Sheehan, who has hiked the AT, AZT, most of the PCT, and portions of the CDT, all with a large following on YouTube, Instagram, and her blog. Rocket is also a nurse, yoga instructor, and burgeoning author with her book, Hiking is the Easy Part, coming soon. Actually available now.
Yeah, it released yesterday.
I know it's here because I'm holding a copy of it. Excited to dig into this. I want to talk about social media. We're already on the topic.
Yeah.
We did one of those things where we had a good conversation before we hit the record button, so I just want to jump right into it. But I'm sure many people listening to this right now are familiar with your social media and YouTube presence. You were voicing some, let's say, concerns with the way that people have reacted to the latter part of your social media career. Care to comment?
Oh, you mean the like fall from grace that Miss Rocket has had?
Wait, can we start from the beginning? Can we start from the rise to power?
Oh,
and then
yes.
go into the fall
Actually,
from grace?
I think we should, because the proof is in the pudding that Zach saw just star quality in me from the get-go and offered sponsorships, which I don't think I ever really talked about sponsorships when I hiked, because I was afraid that people would judge me for getting them. So you set me up with like Gossamer gear and Montbell and all these amazing sponsorships. You started sharing my videos, which I was using royalty music. So like they lost all of the monies from YouTube royalties, which I didn't know until after the fact. And within like my first 100 days on trail, I amassed like 10,000 followers, which from my like 900 people that I'd known in my life, it was overwhelming. And so on my hike of the AT, I just became this like beloved person that I felt that I didn't deserve any of that. But people saw the rawness and the realness of who I was and who I, portrayed myself to be. And then every year it was like, do more, do more, do more. So I did more, and then I burnt myself out. And in 2022, I got really sick on the PCT with about 500 miles left. went home and decided to transition into a different version of myself. And since then, it has been very humbling, to say the least, of the thousands of people that no longer found my content or my sharing valuable, which I don't blame them. I do the same thing. We all kind of do that when we transition, but the fall from grace has been heavy and hard. And so writing the book that just came out has been a really cathartic revisiting of the person that people kind of fell in love with and connected with. So it's kind of like all coming around full circle.
Yeah. Let's double click into the rise to fame, because you mentioned that you were not anticipating that at all.
No.
What was that experience like?
So I remember what it was is I shared my gear photo and you guys like shared it on the Appalachian.trail page, and I woke up with 4,000 followers, and I was like, well, and this was before we had virility. Like there was no TikTok, like YouTube didn't have an algorithm, like Instagram didn't even have like an explore page, I don't think. Like stories just came out. And I remember thinking like, oh no, like what happened? Like I'm not ready for this. And immediately people were commenting on my hair, and it's like, do you have a dreadlock? Like, how dare you have dreadlocks? Or this one's got tattoos, or like, she looks like a dumbass. Like, just like all the kind of stuff. And I'm like, Mom.
Sorry about the comments, by the way.
Like,
most of those were my
don't
burners.
know me. And so.
It's all Zach's burner accounts.
It's all Zach's. He's like, we got to humble this girl. But it was amazing because any person that's alive, you don't know if you're valuable. Like we're constantly seeking validation. That's the human condition. And so to get that validation of like, yeah, I know that I'm a blonde, decent looking woman with a figure. Like, and I know that a lot of people connected to that, but like the women that connected were also more important, because thru-hiking is very much so like was male dominated. And so to see a woman like persevere and like persist through all of that, I think was really important for other women to see. And like the people that approach me now are women who are like, you are the reason why I felt the confidence to do this thing. Mm-hmm. So it was humbling. It was scary. It still is. But it's mostly just, I will never take it for granted that people care what I have to say. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get into like the particulars of each hike, obviously, but I want to frame this in the context of social media since we're on the subject. So you complete the AT, you've got a massive following. At that point, do you feel like you are in love with backpacking and thru-hiking, or are you doing this for the social media likes or some combination?
I became obsessed. Like it was not a healthy relationship. So in 2020, we all were, stuck at home. And I just remember feeling like I'm losing my identity, because there's no doubt that who we become on trail is a really important and transformative version of ourselves. But then I came off trail and I needed to do more. And so in 2021, I had this like huge dream of like doing the AZT and then doing the CDT, and then the PCT was going to come the next year. And I just remember like needing to thru-hike in order to like get back to like the version of myself that felt comfortable. Because on the AT, like you'll read in the book, hopefully, if you guys read it, that we explore parts of ourselves and we get to like kind of unpack who we are, and we get to choose in those moments on trail like what version of ourselves we want to be, because we don't have distraction and we don't have other people telling us what to do. Like we're on that trail by ourselves doing what feels authentic to us, and if it's like breaking down or being tough or persisting, like that's on us. Like there's no one telling us how to do it or how to be. And so when I got off trail, like I realized I hadn't healed myself like I thought. Like you come home and you slowly start reverting back. And then on 2021, I was like, I've got to get back to the person that feels strong and powerful and important. And the AZT did that. It was great. I loved it. And then I went on to the CDT, and I had an emergency where my beloved dog passed away suddenly while I was in Glacier. And I just couldn't move on. And it was the first time I'd quit. And that was when I started seeing like people saying like, oh, she's a quitter. But more people were like, I applaud you for being this person that has this large following that quit. So it was a really important period, but I definitely became obsessed with it. And when I went on the PCT in 2022, I was very much still stuck in that mindset of like, I've got to get out there and do more. I have to get the Triple Crown, or else I'm not going to feel important and people might not think I'm important anymore. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
Did you hit I feel like it's a part that I had considered at a time too, where like coming off the AT, in my mind, I was thinking, I could go home and I could get a job, or I could keep putting a lot of effort into this. And like when things are monetized, really you're not making a ton. Like I think people have this impression that like hikers with a huge following are making shit tons of money. It's great for helping with resupplies.
Yeah.
But it's not a ton. But you start to have these like visions and thoughts of like, man, I don't want this trail to end, but I hate that I have to go back to work, but I do have to go back to work because I need to make some money. Otherwise I can't keep doing this. But if I could do this really well and I can make enough off of this, then I could just do this.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a perfect world because you're giving the people what they want. You know, I get to show you me hiking all the time, which is what you like to see.
Yeah.
And I can afford to do so and, you know, continue to do it. Did you have a part of you at any of these phases where it was like, this could be something, you know, that sort of stock that you put in it?
Well, in 2020, we were all stuck at home, so I started making like funny, I think I made one, it was like all different types of thru-hikers, and it was like part 1 and part 2, and it was like the FKT person and like the stoner guy, and like I started making like funny videos, and TikTok had just come out, so a lot of those like really gimmicky, like fun, like videos that came out, like my friend Matt Lyons, he like went super viral on TikTok, and I remember being like, oh, he found the perfect formula, and now it translates to everything he does.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I could do that because people like already are connected, and so I started doing that on YouTube, and I was getting quite a bit of views like on my anecdotal videos of like how to finance and like types of thru-hikers and here's 10 things about me, like all of this stuff that you're like supposed to do, and I remember loving it, and then like, but I still just wanted to make trail content. For me, it's like I just want to share what life is like out there because it's such a unique experience. And so like I definitely felt, there was a point where I was like, I want to be like a full-time content creator. This was like before it was called that. But I wanted to like go full steam ahead, and I had like dreams of touring all the national parks and vlogging each one and like the highs and lows of each and like doing like a really in-depth breakdown. And then of course COVID happened and like everything got thrown to the wind. But it definitely feels like you could do it, but I mean, even my video that has 1.6 million views on YouTube made me like less than $10,000. So like, if that tells you anything, you know, you're not making a bunch of money. I think like endorsements, brand deals, sponsorships are probably the most beneficial thing you get from like a following, but not money.
Yeah.
Okay, from a social media perspective, I think I want to put a pin in it there because I don't think we can do that conversation justice without going through the chronology of your story here. So I guess walk me through, before we get to the thru-hiking stuff, tell me more about your background in the military.
Oh, amazing. So I went to Penn State for a year, and I realized if I stayed in college, like this girl was going to get in trouble if we were not graduating. Heavy drinking, like, you know, background growing up. And so I joined the military right out of my first year of college, and I was like, just put me in anything, coach, like whatever you want. So they're like, do you want to be an airplane mechanic? I'm like, amazing, sounds great. So I learned real quick how to use a wrench and get yelled at a lot. And I spent 6 years doing that, where I focused on like fitness and just bowing to the will of man and traveling the world. I deployed twice, but I got to see like a million different countries. So it was a beautiful experience. A lot of like harassment being a woman in a male field, which like, why do I keep doing that to myself? Like through hiking, the military. And so when I got out, I moved across the country and didn't know what I wanted to do. And that's where I discovered nursing school.
I want to come back to this actually. Yeah. You mentioned harassment in the military.
Oh, yeah.
That seems to make sense. It's very male dominated. We've had a lot of veterans on the show, all males. You're a first female veteran. Do you have any like specific stories or just like what that experience was like?
Yeah, a lot of what are you doing in my military? And a lot of times, like I'm short, I'm 5'3", which a lot of people when they meet me, they think I look taller. I'm like, I don't know how. I'm like just a tiny little potato. I call myself the mighty meatball when I snowboard because I'm just like this big, just like going down the mountain. But I was weaker, and there's a lot of like big, heavy things you're lifting and moving. Like to change the brakes on my airplane, which was a KC-135, which is like a flying gas station, you had to like use a breaker bar. And the torque on it was so heavy that I could stand on it, press against the wing, and still not break the torque on this breaker bar. And so like when my book came out, one of my friends from like 10 years ago was like, hey, was writing this book harder than breaking the torque on this wrench? And I'm like, oh my God, where did that come from? But you know, it was a lot of like me learning how to like jump higher, push things, pick things up that were twice my size, and just like learning how to be tough. And in that situation, I got really thick skin. Like I'm a very sensitive person, like deep down, but I learned you had to like be a bitch. You had to like tell people F you, like don't tell me what to do. Like I had to have a tough exterior because if not, they would have seen that it would got to me. So I think it prepared me a little bit for like being more visible.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. now transition from military to nursing?
Yeah, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I got a bachelor's degree in human resources. I did that for like a month, and I'm like, I can't do this. So I worked for a transmission power line company, a hog feed refinement company, like all male like jobs. And my friend was like, I'm gonna go to nursing school. Do you wanna go with me? I'm like, I don't wanna do these jobs anymore. My mom was a nurse, and she's like, you'll always have a job, like you'll always make decent money. You get to care for people. I'm a very like caring person. And so I kind of went on a whim, which you'll find in my life is very much how I do things impulsively. Like joined the military on a whim, became a nurse on a whim. Thru-hiking literally came out of nowhere on a whim. Like within months, I had like sold my house and everything. So, and I just fell in love with it. I still love being a nurse, but it's been a challenging career with like COVID and just the nature of healthcare as well. But
So how long were you nurse before you got into thru-hiking?
not long. So I graduated in September of 2017. I worked my first year. I worked in a neurosurgical step-down unit, which is like all back and brain surgery patients that are recovering. So it was very emotional because a lot of young folks that were chronically ill or terminally ill with cancers I cared for. And that's kind of what made me realize how short life is and that I needed to do something bigger than what I was doing. And that's kind of where I like discovered thru-hiking.
Yeah.
But it was only about a year and a few months before I left for the AT.
Yeah.
And I was reading one of the excerpts from Hiking is the Easy Part on one of your stories. You talk about in the book how you were basically running from things when you started the AT. You were running from this, you were running from that. If something happened, then you would run from it. Can you talk a little bit about kind of that phase leading up to the AT?
Yeah, I mean, I talk a lot about in the book, the overarching theme is like my self-respect and self-worth, which I lacked for most of my life. I don't talk about it a lot, but I have been very vocal about my eating disorder that I had my entire life, that I just have, like I literally was in full recovery after the PCT. So it's been something that has translated through hiking. But every time something happened, I would impulsively make a decision to get out of that situation. So like I was in college, it was hard, I was drinking too much, I joined the military. The military was hard, I was getting sexually harassed and like told that I wasn't cut out for it, so I got out and went to nursing school. And then nursing made me realize that life is short and I'm gonna die from some obscure cancer someday, so I need to go thru-hike. And so I constantly was running, and when I left for the AT, I realized like I'm definitely doing that this time, but I'm hoping that this will help catalyze some other way to like manage my life, which we realized it didn't until after I came off the PCT and I realized I was using thru-hiking as the same excuse for all the other impulsive things that I did. So
you mentioned, go ahead.
Oh, is yours more on topic than mine will be?
Probably.
Okay, then you go ahead.
Okay. So you mentioned eating disorders growing up.
We were going to go to the same place.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess I want to dig a little bit deeper into the background. You've also mentioned like insecurity and like seeking validation. Was there something that happened in your childhood, or is this just like the 21st century version of growing up as a woman in America, social media?
I mean, all of the exposure we had, like I got a Teen Vogue magazine when I was like 11, and those girls are like 80 pounds. And I remember being like, I have cellulite on my stomach, I'm 12 years old. And like, just, you know, all of our moms were on like fad diets, like the Atkins or the whatever diet they were on. And I think it was just the nature of the world. And then also I was a very quiet, like I talk a lot, but I was a very insecure and quiet child. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was kind of bullied a little bit. So for me, it was like, I wanted to just blend in, and that meant just like being what everyone else was. And everyone I remember from like a young age started talking about weight. And so for me, it was like, well, if I'm going to talk about weight, I'm going to be the best person. I'm going to be the skinniest person. I'm going to do all these things. And for me, like my eating disorder was a way to like control my body in a world where like we don't have a lot of control.
Yeah.
Did you find thru-hiking helped when you were coming, because you said it was like right after recovery? Did you find that thru-hiking helped, or did you find, because something that I think about, also I've had an eating disorder.
Hey, every woman's plight.
Talking about being a girl in the 90s.
Yeah.
But for thru-hiking, like one of the things that I try to be very mindful of things that would trigger, you know, something to start again. And with thru-hiking, one of the things I think about is how you can eat anything you want and still be losing weight.
Yeah.
And on one hand, I'm like, this fucking rocks. But then on the other hand, I catch myself saying this fucking rocks, and I'm like, oh no, this is not great. Because like, I don't want to obsess over this. And thru-hike as a way to just like lose a bunch of weight, you know, anytime I want to, and not have to do specific things like watch what I'm eating or, you know, portion control or, you know, healthy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, make those decisions. I can just eat like a piece of trash and then hike 30 miles back to back and feel thin.
Yeah. That's how it was for me.
Yeah.
It did a lot. So I actually talked with a woman named Jillian who's writing a book, and we went into depth about my eating disorder and how it related to through hiking, but it healed my relationship with food while simultaneously like perpetuating my eating disorder, which is like the double-edged sword, where I learned I could eat and like my body needed fuel, and that fuel was food. So those were like the very beginnings of the like realization of what food does for me, and it allowed my body to do amazing things like hike mountains, snowboard, do yoga, all of these things. But it also, when the trail ended and I started gaining that weight and softening up and realizing like the reason why it felt so good was because I was able to binge on foods, which is what my brain wants to do.
Right.
It wants to do all these unhealthy things, and it's giving you a healthier outlet to like balance that. So I think women have to be very careful with how they approach it, because most women I know that had eating disorders, they still battled with it throughout hiking.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of situations where like overeating on trail would trigger like certain feelings in my body, because like that's what my body was used to. So it was a very fine line to walk, that I do think it can help you heal your relationship with food, but you have to be very careful about how you're managing your thoughts about it.
Yeah. I lost like 18 pounds on the PCT, which was like, fuck yeah. Gained 3 on the AT.
I gained 3 pounds too.
And when I got home and I did my like after weight, like to be so excited about, ooh, I wonder what it's gonna say, and it's +3. I was like, motherfucker.
Yeah. I weighed myself at Shaw's, and I was like, oh, I gained 2 pounds, and I was like, but I'm fit as shit. Like I was like, I look great.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like I could recognize that the number on the scale was like not the thing. It was like, how do I look? How loose are my shorts? And then I also realized like my body got me to Maine.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of what that number on the scale was, like the body did the thing. So
Right.
it was kind of cathartic. It like healed me a little bit, but I had a long way to go after that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, like I said, you could eat whatever you want
Anything
and
you
not gain weight. And it's because you're exercising so much in the day. And I think getting home from that is like, well, I don't necessarily need to like diet a ton. I just need to exercise a lot, you know? And so like when I got back, I was going to the gym before work, and then I was going to the gym after work, and then I had a at-home treadmill, you know, and I was like, if I could just walk enough,
if I can just
like
walk
I do
30
on trail
miles today after work,
then it doesn't matter what I eat, you know?
Yeah.
So
I totally get that. And I would love to talk about the thru-hiker diet and because I know we're probably going to talk about this, about what it did to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get into some AT stories before we go there,
okay.
because I know obviously this is the meat of the book. So
It's the whole book.
yeah. Getting to the AT, what was it that got you to the AT? Like, what was the inspiration?
Do you really want me to bring up Tom? You jerk.
He comes up in every episode.
Yeah, he literally
so,
does.
Yeah.
So here's your plug, Tom. I was nursing and I was depressed, and I was like, I got to do something. So Instagram had this really great new feature, the Explore page, and van life was like big. I'm like, oh, I want to do van life. And I was like, oh, I have a dog and a cat. Like, we're not going to live in a van. I'm like, well, what can I do? And my sister had said in passing, like earlier in the fall, was like, we should take the kids. My sister had 2 young kids. Like, we should plan a trip on the AT. I was like, what's that? She's like, it's a trail that goes through Pennsylvania. And I'm like, okay, like we'll think about it later. Well, then I'm like looking through this van life inspiration, and there's this bearded dude like on a mountain, you know, and I'm like, what's this? And then the Appalachian Trail,
what is this?
it just pops up.
That's a good
and
question.
he's like from Pennsylvania. I'm like, well, I'm living in Pennsylvania. Like, maybe I can reach out to this person. I didn't know how like influencers, what that was like. You know, I'd never met anyone that had more than 1,000 followers. So I just messaged him like, I'm from Pennsylvania. Tell me what this is. And he's like, well, come meet me for a beer. And like, I was like, maybe I'll do 2 weeks. He's like, why? That's like lame. Like, don't be lame. So he's like, just do it. What's stopping you? I was like, well, I have a house. He's like, sell it. I'm like, okay. Like, I have a job. He's like, quit. I'm like, okay. I literally, the next day I listed my house on the market. Like, I started calling realtors, and I was like, well, maybe it won't sell, because this was like in January. Like, I had months to like get rid of it, and it got a full price offer overnight. I was
Wow.
like, okay, universe, which you'll see like in the first chapter. I was like, okay.
Underpriced it.
Yeah, like full price offer. They bought everything in the house. So they bought all my belongings. So I
Oh,
just
that makes it so easy.
It was like a disability like company where they like buy houses for disabled people and staff them with like caregivers. So I was like, even better, like my house is going to a good cause. And then I got a surprise check in the mail from the escrow, like where I made an extra like $3,000. And I was like, well, now I can definitely afford to thru-hike. So I told my boss, I was like, I'm leaving. I'm either quitting or you're putting my job on hold. She's like, yeah, we'll keep you.
Wow.
So, and then you gave me all these sponsorships and stuff. And like, I was out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, it shouldn't be that easy. I guess it wasn't easy. You had to sell a house and quit a job. So that's not easy. But the rest of it, yeah, that's good. So you sold the house in January and remind me, you started in March?
10th,
yeah. What was the process like in the few months leading up to it? Because like to make that decision overnight, there's got to be some buyer's remorse, right? Being like, am I fucking out of my mind?
No. I'm so impulsive that I was like, this has got to work. And then my first day on trail, I was like, I'm quitting today. Like, oh my God, my mom is going to be so pissed that I just sold my house. But I knew that I wasn't going back to that life. Like I knew that I burnt it down to the ground so bad that even if I went back to Pittsburgh where I lived, like I was never going back to that house and to like that version of myself. Like I knew that the trail was going to transform me because it had to. Like I knew that it had to do that. But I had like, I bought like, I don't even know the brand of the pack. It was huge. It was like 85 liters. I had like a 6-pound tent. Do you remember Lumberjack was like the trek? Do you remember the Lumberjack videos? Like I dressed up and put a beard on. People still bring it up.
I do remember that.
And it was like my inspiration for hiking. And I remember when I did my gear video, everyone's like, this girl's gonna fail. She doesn't know nothing. And then you were like, hey, here's like a nice pack. Like here's a tent. Here's a puffy jacket. And yeah, it was like I got all new gear. Like I remember returned everything to REI because that's where I went. I didn't know about like cottage brands and all of that stuff. And then I met Melissa Banks, who I hiked with like throughout the bottom half of the trail. And we had met on Facebook. So her and her boyfriend picked me up in Roanoke or Richmond. And I drove with her down there and we started together.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned the first night on trail you wanted to quit. Is there anything in particular that happened that spurred that thought, or is it just the nature of the trail?
It was so we did the approach trail the first day, and then we camped at Springer Mountain Shelter. And then the next day, I had IT band syndrome from training and running. Like I was an avid runner, and I got really bad knee pain. And on the first day, like my knee was just excruciating, like to the point where I was like crying. There was like old men like blowing past me, like, hey, and I'm like, these old guys, like, now I know like they're peak athletes for hiking, but I just kept thinking like, if it hurts on day one, like there's no way I can do 200 days like this. And it was also just like, I just burned my life to the ground. My dog's at home, my mom, everyone was like betting on how quick I would quit. Like no one bet longer than like 90 days.
Did you know that going into it?
Yeah, like the week before I left, my sister was like, I give her 2 nights. And my brother's like, she's afraid of bugs. So like, they did not have a lot of faith, but they supported me nonetheless.
Yeah.
But
was that motivating for you?
Yeah. Oh, every single person that told me I like wasn't going to do it was why I made it.
Yeah.
And in the book, there's a story about this guy that I met at Brushy Mountain Outpost, like just outside of Bland. And he's like, hey, like statistics will show that one of us is quitting and I ain't quitting. And I'm like, well, I'm not letting you like tell me what's up. So I remember when I like summited Katahdin, I was like, that's for you, Angry Jim, or whatever I called him. Like I made up some name, but like every person that doubted me, like definitely I wanted to prove them wrong because I'm a very stubborn person.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just like going up to someone with the audacity to be like, statistics show that one of us isn't making it and it's gonna be you?
And I even said like probably because at that point I was like, everything hurts. Like I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah.
What was the cure for the knee, or was there?
800 milligrams of ibuprofen every 8 hours for 172 days.
Interesting.
And now
is that foreshadowing for? Because I know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's some parts in the book where I'm like, I have a lot of GI. I have a lot of GI problems.
Yeah.
Although eating disorder, but yeah, there's a lot of GI upset and nausea and stomach problems because of the ibuprofen. And we'll talk a little bit about how that like all affected my whole body system. But I still have knee pain. I just went and got a MRI done, and I have maltracking, which means my kneecap, the muscles that support my knee are not all working in unison. So my kneecap slams into my leg bones. So which is causing fissuring and edema behind my kneecap. And so that has been pretty persistent since the
Yikes.
So, the cure for IT band syndrome was really just hiking less, letting it heal.
Yeah.
But this one, it like came about like in Virginia, and
Yeah.
it hurt the entire way to Maine.
Can they fix it?
You can get surgery, but it would not be recommended. You can do PT, which, I mean, yoga and strength training have really helped. And also just like not walking 30 miles a day has been really helpful.
So at what point did through hiking click for you? Because we've heard the trials. What were some of the triumphs?
I started hiking by myself in Virginia. Like, I wanted to depart from like the comfort of my trail family. They were wanting to do like smaller miles. They were really relishing in like the last one to Maine wins, and I wanted to like see what my body was capable of, because I'm just about to turn 30, and I wanted to see what I was capable of, because this was when like a lot of like speed hikers were coming out, like they were doing the trail in 100 days or whatever. So I left them and I spent like 2 to 3 weeks hiking by myself, and I covered like 25-mile days every day. I was just trying to catch you, honestly.
I know.
I was like, I need to meet this girl.
We started 6
You were just
days
so
apart,
fast.
and we
I was
were
like,
DMing beforehand, because I remember we were talking about the Montville quotes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, she's 6 days behind. I'll see her. And then you guys were hiking so slow.
I know. I tried. And then, so I got to McAfee Knob, which, like, of course, like the, iconic McAfee Knob, but I was there by myself. There was like one person and they left. And it was like me by myself. And I realized that like I had done 30% of the trail. Like, I'm there. So I like knew that it was something that I was capable of doing. And it was the first time that I started doing what I wanted, how I wanted to do it. I was hiking my own hike, whatever. And I realized that like I'm actually pushing myself through like discomfort, and I'm not running away when things are hard. And it was when I realized like I'm capable of far more than I thought. And I also knew that like I didn't want to quit, because I quit and ran from everything in my life before. And so this was a really good opportunity to like commit to something, which, I mean, you'll see in the book, I quit. Like, I literally quit halfway because of my knee, and I came back, which like is something I'd never done before. But it was mostly just McAfee Knob. I was there by myself. I started crying, and I realized like I'm here in this place that like it didn't seem real, because it's like always a vision until you're there. Like you can't visualize Katahdin until you're on it, no matter how many pictures you see.
Yeah.
So it's like just putting a face to the name of like this McAfee Knob, this thing that's super iconic, and like I made it here.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. You describe yourself as impulsive. I imagine not quitting a trail as an impulsive person has got to be much more difficult, because like every day is an opportunity to quit. And like everyone has the feeling of like, this sucks, I don't enjoy it. But like if you have a tendency to just like pursue something without as much consideration, then I feel like quitting is probably, it seems like a lower hanging fruit.
yeah, I mean, you saw how much research I did. None. I literally like day one, I'm like, where are we going? Oh, these white things are blazes. That's what we get to follow. Like, they're like, honey, like I had never put up my tent. I'd never turned on my stove. I like burned a massive hole in my jacket like day 2.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking like, impulsivity is not like always great. Like, I don't think I would have ever thru-hiked had I not been impulsive, but you should do some preparation.
Yeah, but on the flip side, it means you're a risk taker. Like you're able to do things on where people were overthink it and get like decision gridlock. Like you're able to just be like, no, I'm gonna go do it. Yeah.
Skydive and just jumping out of the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, the quitting was easy because I wanted to, because it hurt. And the coming back, what made me come back, because I probably would have stayed home and like rehab my knee, but everyone that was behind me started passing where I quit. And the competitive asshole in me just could not let it go. I'm like, these people cannot get there without me getting there too.
Yeah.
Like it was like more of like, and the competitive nature I think was helpful for me, because it made me realize like I'm jealous of these people. And I want to go out and do that too. I want to get past where I was. And so my mom, she was like, I knew you were going back the day you came home. Like you just would cry like every day. I'm like, I don't understand life anymore. Like Netflix isn't fun anymore. So.
How long did you quit?
14 days.
Okay.
I was a photographer, like a photographer at the time. And so I was coming home to photograph one of my coworkers' weddings anyway, but I had only planned to come home for that weekend.
Yeah.
But I came home like a week and a half early because my knee. And I was like, well, we'll see what happens. I'll stay home till the wedding, and then, we'll figure it out. And then like the day after the wedding, I was like, Mom, we got to go.
Yeah.
It sounds like with all the knee pain and like just it being hard off the bat, that hiking was a hard part, but the book is called Hiking is the Easy Part. So what's the hard part?
The hard part is like the journey that we have to take within ourselves. And I think it's an overarching theme of the book is like the hiking sucks. Like no one will deny that walking 20 to 30 miles a day with 20 pounds on your back, 30 pounds on your back, over mountains, through rain, through the heat, mosquitoes, like is difficult, but the things we discover about ourselves and the baggage that we unpack while we're doing it, while we're alone in the woods with literally nothing but our own brains and our own thoughts and our own internal dialogue, reflecting on that and addressing it and letting it come out is, I think, the hard part, because it's so easy to do the thing, but to experience the thing, like to emotionally experience ourselves, I think is a lot of people have never done it. And hiking, you know, like even on a day hike, you start asking like the deep questions, like, why am I here? Who am I? Who do I want to be? Like, what do I love? Like, it happens within a mile. Like your first mile, you start reflecting. And I think that's the hard part, is you have to kind of look at yourself head on. You can't disillude yourself. You can't distract yourself with like the world, social media and our job and people in our world. Like, you have to look at yourself. And I think that's really hard to recognize that sometimes we're the problem, and I very much so was. So
what answers did you get on the AT?
That life is tough, but I'm tougher. When you think you're there, you're only halfway. Mm-hmm. And the work is the work. Like the journey, like Katahdin was just one little tiny dot on that map. Everything else, like when I think fondly of my time, I don't think of Katahdin or Springer or McAfee Knob. Like I think of the people, I think of the thoughts, I think of the squirrel that I saw, and the journey is the destination. Like getting to the end that only just makes things sad, because then it's over.
Yeah.
So like relish in every day, and like everyone was looking forward to the weekend, to summer, to trail days, but no one's thinking of how can I enjoy today. And that's the number one thing I learned, is like find joy in every moment that you're in. Because one day all of this will end, and you'll get to that thing, and then you'll be looking for the next thing. Yeah. So just kind of like enjoy the journey, I guess.
It's a very smart and important perspective, and especially in through hiking. We were actually talking, I think on the way, like the drive up here, how the half-gallon challenge tends to be a very like male-dominated thing, even in the through hiking world. Yeah. I see that you did it.
Hell yeah, I did. All the other women were like, I'm not doing that. I did in like 12 minutes.
I got a small cone.
I mean, as a girl with an eating disorder who loved to overeat, which actually I don't write about this in the book because my editor was like, we've got to streamline some stuff. We can't bring up everything. But I crushed that challenge because my eating disorder literally was like, eat every day, all the time. And so for me, the half-gallon challenge was great until I finished, and I was like, I started having like the mind-brain connection of my eating disorder. It was the only time in the entire trail, other than when I got neurovirus and I was like relentlessly vomiting. I was like, I need food, I'm dying. Yeah. Like that I had like a weird relationship to it. And it was interesting because like I was the only woman that did it. And I half wonder if these women recognized that it wasn't a safe place to like enjoy it. But I did love it because I love ice cream. And I even wrote an entire article on the trek for my favorite ice cream stops on the AT.
Oh, that's right.
Do you remember that was like my top favorite, my top 10 favorite ice cream?
That's funny. So, yeah.
But yeah, I crushed it, but you know, double-edged sword with everything.
Does your body do good with lactose?
It doesn't really do good with anything these days, but
yeah,
I mean, I guess.
That was my primary concern, was I was like, I've never shit my pants, but if I try to do this like 3-4 hours from now, I will be shitting my pants.
Oh yeah.
The next day I was really hungover because we partied in a cabin, and I couldn't tell you if it was the dairy or the beer, but yeah, I was not doing well the next day.
Yeah. No, I took the most important poop of my life after the half-gallon challenge.
We went swimming in that lake.
We bathed in it, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a water snake in it, so I got really grossed out. But in my mind, I was like, I can't swim in my sports bra if I just ate half a gallon of ice cream. Yeah. Like, that's not going to be something where I enjoy taking my shirt off. So.
I don't even remember. I just like, I remember we swam, but I don't know if it was before or after. Probably after, but.
Yeah, because you pass the half-gallon challenge, and then just past that is the part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you get the trail name Rocket?
Oh, a snot rocket. So it's also in the book. You guys just need to read the book. But I like struggled because it took me like longer than anyone else to get a trail name, because no one could come up with anything like unique enough. It was just kind of like, oh, like there's really nothing great. There's nothing anecdotal about you. And I have a very like sensitive sinus system, so my nose is always running, especially when it's like cold mornings, like just phlegm. So I'm like constantly blowing snot rockets on trail, like even to this day, like even when I run, I'm like constantly just phlegm. And we were in one of the shelters in the Smokies in Aspen, one of my trail family members, she's like, I was thinking, like, you want something that's kind of like fun, you don't want anything serious, and like you're always shooting snot rockets. She's like, what if we called you like Snot Rocket or Rocket? I'm like, that's perfect. So just because I've got a runny nose.
Do you have an estimate for how many snot rockets you've blown on trail?
20 times 200. Thousands.
Nice.
Carry the 2 minus the 1.
Yeah.
Garrett made a funny joke one time, which was like you were talking about like the one thing you'd bring to a desert island, and Garrett was like, "For you, it's gonna be tissues." I'm like, that's true. I love a tissue pack.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about the AT that you want to convey? Standout stories, overarching themes?
There's so many.
Yeah.
But just do it. And I think you should do it first. Like, I know you did the PCT first. The PCT it's a different world, but I think the AT has a charm that if you do the PCT first, it might dull that charm a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely helps to spend like 1.5 to 2 years working a job that you don't love in between, because nothing gets you ready for back on trail like
Hating your life.
not being on trail and hating your life. Yeah.
But I think you should do it first. And I think, like, don't go on Reddit.
Yeah.
Don't go on the Facebook page, the class of whatever.
Why is that?
Well, it's just the micromanagers, the people that know everything that will
Yeah.
tell you that you're going to fail because you have a full toothbrush
Yeah.
as opposed to one and chopped in half.
It is incredible that these Facebook groups, these class hubs, or any of those forums, like, to find people who know so much and they're all in one group and they
can't
all
wait to
know
tell you.
everything. Like, how did they all find each other and find the same group?
Yeah, if you ask me a question, I might be like, you'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, here's what I can tell you.
Yeah.
But, like, they just love, knowledge loves to share knowledge, right? So, of course, they want to tell. But I think a lot of it is, like, condescending.
Yeah. Or I also question if like 90% of the advice is coming from people that have actually done and completed
They
the
just
hike.
watch Dan Becker's videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you think of the AZT?
The AZT?
Yeah.
Oh, favorite trail.
Yeah?
Like, I tell everyone, do it. It's the best mid-grade trail. There's 2 climbs. Like, the first day, Mount Lemon and Mount Micah. That's it. Like, there's 3 mountains. The desert's beautiful. The saguaro cactuses. I fell in love with cactuses on the AZT.
You're making it sound easy. Everyone I've talked to says that the AZT is hard.
Well, we started early, so we were in snow.
That sounds harder.
Yeah.
But I personally loved it, but we did it so early that it wasn't super, super hot.
Yeah.
So it was like charming in that sense. But it took us 50 days, which was 10 days longer than we thought, because we had to keep going back into Pine, maybe one of the towns, because it was so snowy that we were just like, it was so bad that we would just keep hitchhiking like 30, 50, 60 miles back into this town and like take a day off. 'Cause
Yeah.
It was miserable.
Do you do well in sun? Obviously, if you like desert hiking. Yeah. Are you Italian?
No, I'm Irish and Czech, so I'm just your very typical white girl.
Yeah.
But I love the sun. I love the heat. I
Did you hike
do
with
not like snow.
an umbrella or anything?
I had an umbrella on the AT. On the PCT, I just wore hats and sunscreen, and then the AZT, I had like one of those like ghillie hats or like the wide brim hats.
Yeah. I know you had touched on COVID previously. Were you planning on hiking that year before shit hit the fan?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to do the PCT, but then COVID happened. And then my friend Gail, who hiked SOBO the year I hiked NOBO on the AT, was going to do the CDT. And then little Skittle, Rebecca, she also wanted to do the CDT. So I was like, okay, well, why don't we just like do it together, like girl power, just like I started the AT with 2 other girls. And I had no intentions of doing the CDT. But I wanted to do the AZT because I wanted to get out there as soon as possible. And I'm like, what trail can I do? And Kyle Rohrig, Mayer, he's the one that has the Lost on the Appalachian Trail, like his books. And he was like, well, I want to do the AZT. Why don't you just like do it with me? I'm like, sweet. Like, I'm never going to be that girl that's going to go out and start a trail on her own, like in the backcountry. Like the AT, I'd probably do on my own because it's so like around communities.
Yeah.
But so I went out there with him. He invited a bunch of other like people, and we all started together. But I forget what your question was.
COVID.
Oh, yeah. And so there was a lot of heat on me about starting in February of 2021. I was fully vaxxed because I was like one of the first 100,000 people to get vaccinated. Because I was working in the ER in healthcare, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, we didn't know what was going on. And so when I left, there was a lot of people judging me for going into these communities. But when I got to Arizona, I realized that COVID did not exist down there to those folks.
Yeah.
Like they did
Yeah.
not,
Oh, yeah.
they did not care.
They would rather
if I
have
wore a
the
mask
money.
in their vehicle, they would be like, take that thing off if you want to ride.
Right.
So it was very much like, I understand the care and the compassion that went into like protecting a lot of these towns. But I mean, the Arizona, they loved us. They were like,
Yeah.
selling more. And now I see that it's a really popular trail. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot more people hiking it. And I love it because it holds a special place in my heart because it was the first trail I did after the AT that let me get back to like feeling good again. Cause like after COVID, life was horrible. I started having like, medical issues after I got COVID. And so it was my first time like doing something with my body. And like, I was starting to heal from my eating disorder. Like there were some things like we were in therapy, like we were doing some things. And so it was probably the most healing trail I'd done. So.
You mentioned starting with Mayor. Did you hike with the group the entire time?
Okay, so this is funny. So every person, so me, Mayor, and then my friend Wingit, who you've seen, he was on the AZT with me. He did part of the PCT with us as well. He's like my brother. We hiked with like a group of like 6. Half of our group quit because they were just like, this sucks because it was cold and like they just kind of did their own thing. And every single person we met that was on the trail that year, after they met us, they would quit the next day. So we told everyone like, either you have to stick with us or you're going to quit tomorrow. And every single person quit. Like a dozen people that we came and hiked along with quit within days.
You're like
of
the
meeting
Grim
us.
Reaper of thru-hiking.
Yeah, we're like, what are we doing to these poor people?
Yeah.
So like everyone quit. We're like, we just need to like steer clear of people.
Yeah.
So that was our little like, we were just like the black cloud.
Yeah.
Like if you met us, you would quit.
Right. 50 days, 700 miles. That feels like a pretty relaxed pace.
It's like 800 miles. 790 or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
it's chill.
Yeah.
It's chill.
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay, but here's my question. The one thing that keeps me from wanting to do the AZT is we had Gummy Bear, great guy, on an episode once, and he was talking about the AZT, and he mentioned a 2-mile stretch of tall grass where it was just tall grass you're going through, and you could just hear rattles, but you couldn't see the snakes.
We never saw any snakes because it was so cold.
What month did you start?
February, like Valentine's Day, I think, or the 21st
Okay.
or something. Which I would recommend. I mean, it was cold, but it was nice. Like it was nice and warm during the day. It would get cold like in the 30s, sometimes high 20s at night, but like we just cowboy camped. We never saw any scorpions or like rattlesnakes. Like it was nice.
That's the most convincing pitch I've heard.
But the north of the North Rim was snow. We had to road walk the entire way to Utah.
But is it like sketchy snow, like ridges and steep drops, or
No,
is it
it's
just
like knee deep
snow?
snow on a flat trail.
I could do that.
So we just road walked.
What's
Yeah.
the water situation like in February?
I don't ever remember, like, that was my first time doing water carries, obviously, but I don't ever remember being like, this sucks. Like, I don't ever remember being super thirsty.
You have to do any multi-days?
I think we planned it so well that if we had like a 20 or 30 mile carry, it would be in the morning. Like, we would start it in the morning.
Yeah.
So it was
Interesting.
pretty chill.
Okay.
I love the AZT. I am all for people doing it. I love it.
I could get behind a February AZT. All right.
So that led you to the CDT.
Yep.
And CDT was southbound?
I don't know why, but we did SOBO.
Yeah.
You started with Little Skittle, right?
And my friend Gail, 3 girls out there in the world. She ended up finishing. Like, I'm so proud of her for that. But my dog died when we were coming into Medicine. Like, I was on a ridge. It's weird. Like, I was hiking that morning and I started having like a lot of emotions. I had just put down my rescue cat that I had rescued like 4 years earlier, like the month before. And I started like processing it. And so I was crying. And I remember thinking, like, after I get off the CDT, I had an 11-year-old dog. I was like, I'm just gonna go home after this trail and like spend time with him while he's like old. And I remember like having this like weird like rush of emotion, like this weird chest tightness. And I was like, this is like weird. So I get to the top of the mountain. I'm like, I gotta call my mom and just like, I just gotta talk to my mom. And I turn on my phone and all of a sudden like the messages are coming through. She's like, call me right now. Call me right now. My Garmin starts going off. Call me right now. So I call her and she's like, your dog is at the vet. He's fine, but like he might've passed out or something. And so I'm like, well, I'm 12 miles away from town. So I ran the whole way to town to like get an update. And when I got into town, like my phone blows up again. It's like, call me right now. And I guess he had passed away while I was trying to run to town. And this was like my soul dog. He was like my best friend. We lived together. I got him when I was 20 years old. And it just, any loss like that on trail, like just shattered me. So I spent another like 20 days out there, like just seeing what would happen if I could heal.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just crying for 12 hours a day. I'm just like walking and crying. Poor Rebecca was just like, honey, like, what do you need? I'm like, I don't know, like, why go home?
Yeah.
You know? And so I ended up going home, and that's where, you know, I met my fiance a month later. So it's very serendipitous, like, you know, fate kind of thing. But, and he had also Thru-Hike in 2012. So yeah, the CDT, it was beautiful because I had not been on the PCT yet. And I thought it was the most beautiful, like Montana is probably the prettiest, like Glacier is the prettiest place I've ever been. I've been to Switzerland. I've been to Ireland. Like it is the prettiest place ever.
Do you feel satisfied with having hiked what you hiked, or does it feel like unfinished business?
I would do the Colorado Trail, like to kind of connect that little bit and maybe a little bit of like the Wyoming portion, but I have no desire to do New Mexico. I don't want to do road walks. Like, I'm not that girl. I'll take a car ride. Like, I don't need to prove to myself that I can walk a dirt road.
Yeah.
You know, but.
And how many miles of the CDT did you end up doing?
400 and some.
Yeah.
I don't know. The end, it was kind of sketchy. I was yellow blazing and drinking and just trying to find my way to Missoula. So there was like a couple miles in there. I don't know if they count, but yeah, 400-ish miles. We did it in like 20 days.
Wow.
I was with Jolly and I forget their names now. Twerk came out and trail magicked us, and that's how I was like, can you take me to Missoula? He's like, yeah, baby. So they were doing like 30s, and me, I had never done that. You know, I'd done 130 on the AZT or 2 30s, and they were just like crushing 30s, and I'm like, these people are gonna leave me behind. So
I'm just thinking how fun it would be to do like a rage bait YouTube on my through hike of the CDT. Today I'm gonna be drinking and yellow blazing.
if I were to do it again, I'm not saying I would yellow blaze, but I would definitely not hold myself to any standard of like what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. What was the commentary like when you got off trail?
Because it was around grief, there was so much support. There was like one person who was like, this bitch quit. I'm like, yeah, I did. And it was refreshing to quit because I knew one day I was going to have to quit something. And the pressure was so heavy from people. So it was a really nice, like, hey, my dog died, so I had to quit. And everyone was like, oh, we get it. And then when I quit the PCT, everyone's like, I knew it. I knew it. And my fiance, Corey, bless him, he's like, we hiked 2,000 miles of the PCT. He's like, we're not failures. Like, you got sick. I had to go to work. Like, we did. That's the entire AT.
Yeah.
Like, so.
In the scenario of the CDT, do you think you would have potentially quit sooner if it wasn't for the public facing aspect of it? Or I guess for either trail?
I think I needed to get out there and see if I could heal, like, out there. And I really just needed my mom. Like, I just needed to come home and, like, be around my family.
Yeah.
But I think I would have quit around that point anyway.
Okay.
Because at that point, I was grieving so hard that I didn't care. Like, I was putting out videos, like, just because. Like, I was going through the motions. And, like, I was still finding joy in the CDT. It's still beautiful. I still connected with, like, the wilderness out there. But, you know, I just didn't really... At that point, I was like, my dog's dead. I don't care if people think I'm a quitter. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Their thoughts on my experience is not any of my business anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Can we talk about your puffy face?
Yeah. My beautiful swollen face. I know. I just went to share, like, when I got into Damascus on the AT, and the only picture is like me, like, just completely swollen shut. I'm like, what?
Those photos were so funny from trail. Like, I don't know if you've seen the photos, but
Yeah,
her on trail is just like someone got stung by a bee.
My eyes
in
are
their
completely
face.
swollen shut. My cheeks are like out to here. It was from down. I'm pretty sure it's from sleeping, like, in my sleeping bag, because it happened on the PCT as well. And
are you allergic to down?
I'm whatever's in, like, yeah, I guess.
Or
I don't know.
it's treated with.
But my face just starts swelling. And I thought it was just like from sodium or whatever, you know, you're like, whatever. But it's when I'm sleeping in my sleeping bag and it's cold. Like, if I get a liner, that will help. But like the PCT, I still had a swollen face.
Yeah.
Like for the first 500 miles. So.
Have you tried a synthetic bag?
I won't. I mean, it doesn't hurt. Like, in my mind, I'm like, it's kind of harmless.
Sure.
It's just funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, down's just so good. So
Yeah, I've had my face get swollen like that a couple times. I remember on the Ozark Highlands Trail, like, some of the videos are just funny because it's so swollen.
Well, and sometimes the first time you're seeing your face is when you pull out your camera, and I'm like, oh my gosh, who is that?
It's shocking. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so ugly. I'm taken aback.
There's a video of me, like, good morning. Oh my God. It's like I hadn't seen my face, and everyone's like behind me, like snickering, and they're like, like she's over here just like talking to the camera, just looking horrible.
I've come home and showed Garrett a couple photos of like myself on the trail. He's like, "What the fuck?"
It's like
I know
the
I'm
beauty of
hideous.
hiking.
Yeah. Cool.
So at what point did the PCT come on your radar?
I mean, I always wanted to do the PCT. I felt like it was just the transition. Like the CDT was like one where it's like, I'll get around to it. And then my friends would convince me to do it. The PCT was always like after Elena Osborne's video, it's the people or what. And then she did like the series. I was like, she romanticized the hell out of that trail.
That's some strong propaganda right there.
She ruined it. You can't live up to that.
Yeah.
Like she just, it was like, I have goosebumps. Like her storytelling is, like we make vlogs, but she tells stories.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to do it, and then I met Corey in the end of 2021, and I was like, hey, I'm doing the PCT next year. Like, you can come with me, or we'll break up. Like, there is no
pressure.
like,
no pressure.
So he like had to like he has his own business, so he had to like go through all the, he sacrificed a lot to go on the PCT with me.
You couldn't have done the long distance relationship?
Oh no. No, I'm codependent. We have a great partnership. And he wanted to do the PCT too. And he was like, well, I'll do it someday. Like, there will come a time I'm like, no, we don't do that in this family.
Yeah.
We're impulsive in this family. So we got permits and we did it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, let's talk about that. Because this is where you mentioned that the fall from grace happened for social media. You said that people were very understanding you getting off trail due to grief, which is good. Less fortunate that people are assholes for you getting off trail for whatever the right reason might be.
Yeah.
I guess walk us through the reasons why you got off the trail, and then just like the public reaction to that.
Yeah, so my fiance is a chainsaw sculptor. So in the summer he does a traveling circuit where he goes to like different fairs and will carve for these like as an entertainment. And so he had a trip coming up like in August. But my plan was like we were going to try to finish before then, and then if not, I would finish, and then or we would go home and try to come out after fair, like in the fall, and just do it, just gruel through it. But I started getting sick, so I had developed bladder spasms like that fall. Not really sure what caused it, some type of like inflammatory response or autoimmune response. And it had been fine on trail. Well, on like the last week, I started having these spasms again, which like anyone knows it's like not very comfortable. It's like a UTI. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I was like taking all these medicines, and like you have to drink a lot of water to flush your bladder. Well, we got back, we went on the OCT because of like we were in snow, we were sick of it, and that was fine. And then we got back on the PCT, and like day 2, we had like a long ass water carry, and I started having spasms, and I just started peeing straight blood. And I'm like, hell no, like I'm not gonna like man through this. And so I realized like I had to come home, and a lot of the foods we were eating was causing it to be inflamed, like all the citric acid and the salt and all of like the fake synthetic crap that we eat, all the processed foods was just not doing well for me. And so I had to come home and like totally revamp my health and wellness. And then I was diagnosed with precancerous cells in my stomach from eating all of like the trail foods, all the gummy bears and the chips and the whatever. And so I realized like thru-hiking was actually causing me like physical medical issues. And so I knew that like if I ever were to hike again, I can't eat the same diet because I could get stomach cancer from eating the foods, that we were eating on trail every day. And so, and I was kind of burnt out. Like I was thankful that something brought me off trail again, like kind of like when my dog passed away. I was like excited that like, oh, I'm sick and now I can use this, because I know people wouldn't understand if I'm just done. It's like we were, 500 miles away from the finish. It's like, why would you quit that?
I was going to say that's a tough place to quit at, even if you're having a terrible time. And
we were having a good time. We were with great people. I realized like at that point, my intentions for thru-hiking were based on, they weren't authentic at that point. Like I needed to do the PCT to feel valid and to feel strong and to all these things. And it's like, why can't I feel those things off trail and hike because I'm happy? Mm-hmm. So it kind of like all came full circle where it's like, I'm sick, I'm not happy. Corey has to get off trail. And I'm thankful that I have to step away and quit, knowing that I could have finished, and it meant more to me to quit than to keep going. So,
do you think any part of the chronic ibuprofen use contributed to that? Because I know that like it's terrible for your gut. Sure.
Yeah, it's really bad for your stomach.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think that like yeah, all of it.
Sure.
And
yeah.
I was taking ibuprofen a lot on the PCT as well because I preemptive knee pain, still
Yeah.
had that. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, don't take ibuprofen every
I feel like
day.
that's an important PSA because people,
Yeah.
it's called vitamin I in the backpack or like endurance sports in general, but like people pop it like it's candy and it's terrible for your stomach lining.
It really is.
Like acutely, it's fine. Like if you've got strong pain,
Yeah.
use it for a day. But like, if you're using it every day for a week,
Don't use it every day for 172 days.
definitely not that either.
I feel like it's so easy to say that, but like in the morning when your legs are hurting and you're just getting warmed up for the day, it's so easy to also be like, well, then I won't take it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
comes and
and
it's
tomorrow comes and
Yeah.
it's like, maybe tomorrow I won't take
Yeah.
it.
No, I definitely, as a nurse, don't do that.
Yeah.
And also, I do think focus on nutrition. Like, it's so easy just to eat the gummy bears and to eat the chips, but like, I think like hiker nutrition, I think we would feel better on trail if we
100%.
ate better.
100%.
I mean, I don't know how you're going to pack out, lettuce but you can pack out apples, you can pack out carrots, like it's possible. And I think if I were to hike again, I would try to do it in a very mindful way.
Yeah. Yeah. The older I get, the more I am heavily considering dehydrating my own food just because like it's so much easier to have control over what goes in it, obviously.
When did you start nursing? Was that after the AT?
No, it was a year and a half before.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to ask if the nursing side of you is more aware of these things because you're looking at it and you're like, I feel this way. My nurse brain says diagnose that as this.
Yeah.
Did that make you more aware of these issues?
Yeah, and it's like one of those things where it's like nurses make horrible patients. So it's like, I can tell you all day not to take ibuprofen, but I'm excluded from that narrative because I'm a nurse and I know better. But like Corey fell and like lacerated, like stabbed a branch through his shin. And like our friends Sam and Raya, they were hiking, like we hiked almost the whole PCT together. And they were like, where's your first aid kit? I'm like, I didn't bring a first aid kit. Like I didn't even bring Band-Aids. We didn't have gauze. We had nothing. Luckily they did. So I was able to like sterilize it, clean it, put some gauze on it and wrap it till we got to town. But I'm like, this is not good nursing. I don't have any way to help people out here.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So I don't think we really went deep into the reaction from when you got off trail.
Yeah. There was I think people were like, well, when are you going back out to finish? And I was very clear that like there was I had no plans to go back out. I had a lot of work to do. Like after that, I had a lot of like therapy and like health and wellness recovery. Like hiking is not good on your body. So I had a lot of pain, stiffness. I got into yoga and I got into yoga after the AZT because I was like in so much pain after the AZT. Like my body was like a spaghetti noodle that was uncooked. And so I was excited to get off trail and like kind of get back to like feeling good. And so I started sharing more of that and people would they hated it. They hated that I was not, and I stopped, I took Rocket out of my bio and I became Julia again. And it was very clear that a lot of people that followed me only wanted Rocket. And that's fine. Like I said in the beginning, like there's no bad blood, but it's hard not to take it personally.
Sure.
So I understand why. And I do the same thing. Like when I kind of stepped back from thru-hiking, I unfollowed a lot of like the brands and the people that were still out there doing it that I didn't want to be reminded of that version. So like, it's all good now. Like in the time I felt every time I posted, I would lose 100, 200 followers. And it's like, oh, people hate me. They hate me. And it's like, it's hard not to beat yourself up over it.
Yeah.
So writing the book was also interesting where it's like, oh, does anyone even want this? Will anyone even want to read my story? And then I'm realizing like, yeah, of course they do.
Yeah. So obviously that's a toxic relationship with social media where like you're feeling sad every time you're posting because you're feeling like people hate you. Was it toxic prior to that? Like, do you feel like it was a net positive up until that point?
No. I mean, I think it's all how you look at it. I loved the connection. Like I didn't have a lot of real life friends or a lot of real life hiking friends. So it felt really good to have people connect to me, but it was also fueling a lot of things. So I think the hiking community is wonderful. We rally hard, but we're also really critical of each other and of the miles and the packs and the trails and how quickly you're triple crowning and why are they doing it back to back to back or why aren't they doing it back to back to back? And so I thought it was positive until it was starting to control like my thoughts about what I had to do. So
do you feel that way about the hikers that you meet on trail or is this exclusively like the armchair hikers
the people I meet on trail are angels.
Yeah.
Like everyone that I've ever met in the hiking community in person is amazing.
Yeah.
It's just like, I think just people want to share their opinion, and sometimes they don't realize that it's not, no one's asking for it. Like there's a lot of unsolicited advice.
For sure.
And like, I don't offer unsolicited advice, so I don't really want to receive it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I made a reel, I think it was like a trending sound. This was back when I was trying to make content, but it was like when you have over 5,000 miles of hiking experience and some guy on Facebook tells you blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, the sound is like, why would I listen to you? And like, people were like, wow, what a like egotistical bitch. Like she, you know, why wouldn't you take unsolicited advice? I'm like, once again, here we go. But yeah.
It is interesting, like how upset some people get when you stray from through hiking. Like I had tried to get into running last year. I always go through phases in the summer when the weather's nice, and then I fall off the bandwagon. But I was getting comments like I thought this was a hiking channel on Instagram, and I'm like, it's literally fast hiking on pavement. Like it's fucking running. The Venn diagram is a circle.
Overlapped.
It's literally a circle. But you had the same thing with yoga, and I feel like yoga is something that goes so hand in hand with hiking. But same thing for you, right? Where they were like not down with the yoga.
A lot of people were like, oh my God, you got me back into yoga. Like the people that love me, love it. And the people that loved Rocket don't.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's nice because you don't have to like all of it. Like, I think a lot of it is like understanding that it's not personal.
Yeah.
And if it is personal, then like, don't take it, like it is, then it is. But you know, you just have to like stay authentic. And for me, like hiking was a way to move my body. And so I coined my own little term called purposeful movement, where it's like, as long as you move with purpose, I don't care what you do. And it was hiking for a while, and then it was yoga, and then I tried to do running, but the knee. And it's like, that's what I'm rallying for, is moving your body with intention every day so you feel good in your body. And if that's hiking, that's great. If it's running, that's great. If it's, you know, CrossFit, that's great. So just like transitioning and like I think a lot of it is like, I could have gone back and like become Rocket again and been like, okay guys, I'm back. And like, there's times where I'm like, what trail should I hike to redeem Rocket? And then I have to remember, like, why do you actually want to hike?
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe we should wait a little bit longer until we actually want to hike for the trail and not for Rocket's redemption or whatever.
Yeah. As someone who enjoys yoga quite a bit and who has done quite a number of miles on trail, do you have a few yoga poses that you'd recommend for hikers?
Yes, absolutely. So definitely a pigeon prep pose, which you guys can look this up. It's for the hips. It's like you bring your foot forward and one back, and you stretch the glute medius, which is like very, very important. Any hamstring stretch, so like a seated forward fold is great for the hamstrings, because in walking we are constantly like doing this, so we're never extending anything back or open. You can do, yep. Okay. You can do frog pose, which is like you're literally just like opening your legs and you're laying down, pressing your hips down, opening the adductors. Anything hip related, definitely. Fish pose, where you put like a block behind your shoulders and you kind of extend through your chest, because we're like constantly carrying packs. I mean, literally just go to a yoga class. You're going to feel great.
Yeah.
I went to a yoga class with Julia and Melissa, and
you were great.
Thanks. I looked over at one point. I'm like, what the fuck? She's like in the air, like doing some kind of variation, like headstand,
just
something.
Floating near the ceiling.
And like, I'm just showing up for like an amateur yoga class, you know? And
why is she upside down?
Over, I'm like, holy shit.
I can't help it. I mean, yoga for me is like, is replaced through hiking, because I do hot yoga, so it's like not fun.
No.
It's painful.
Yeah.
So it's like, of course, I just gave a one masochistic thing for the next thing, but I mean, I just love it. So
yeah.
So you mentioned you got really sick after the trail. Do you feel good now?
It's been a journey. I've gone through phases where like I have these like weird brain fog issues, and I've shared a little bit about like I had too much iron in my blood, which was like from the birth control I was on and all kinds of stuff. But it's just been like a journey. I feel like ever since 2020, like, has anyone felt normal since then? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's just like changed the world, but I'm getting there. It's still like, once something happens to you, like it never goes away. It's just like you can recover it a little bit. So I feel much better, but it's still a journey. And I think I would love to get back on trail and see how that makes me feel, because nothing makes you feel more alive than like when you're hiking. Like it's the most alive you'll ever feel. Like when you're on a mountain and you just walked up it. Like, and that also comes from like the endorphins and the dopamine and the serotonin that we're using our bodies to make these hormones naturally, as opposed to like taking your SSRI or drinking that beer or whatever, you know, smoking whatever. So it's the most natural form of like joy, like secreted joy. So.
Yeah. I want to talk about the book.
Yeah.
When did you start writing it? Or when did the idea to write a book, I guess, enter your mind?
So like 2 weeks after I got off trail, I was in my mom and I were like going to the grocery store, and I'm just like, I can't, what life? Like, what am I supposed to do? She's like, go back to work. I'm like, I can't. I'm Rocket. And she's like, well, you need to like do something because you're a mess. She's like, you are not doing well. She's like, why don't you?
Is this after the PCT or the AT?
After the AT.
Okay.
She's like, why don't you like start writing about it? I'm like, what? She's like, just like write it. I was like, well, I had a journal. She's like, just start writing. And I'm like, okay. So I like sat down, and it was probably not until after COVID, like we were in maybe COVID, because maybe the fall of COVID. Sometime during COVID, I started writing it because I remember I would go to the coffee shop and sit outside and write. And I wrote the draft through like that year. And in 2021, right before I left for the AZT, I had finished my first draft. And I didn't know anything about writing. I was like, oh, it's done. It's a book. So I submitted it to Mountaineers Books, which is Anish and Scout's publisher. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, I'm just going to submit it. They'll see my following. They know who I am. And like, I got this book deal. Went on the AZT, came home, realized I did not have a book deal.
Did they get back to you?
No. I submitted twice through them and never heard back. I'm like, maybe they didn't get it the first time. They got it. But, and then I redrafted it in 2021. I redrafted it in 2022. I started submitting it to other publishers, agents. I went to writing workshops. I pitched agents in person, which was terrifying. And everyone just told me Cheryl Strayed's story's already been told, and, you know, I didn't have enough. I don't know. I guess my story just wasn't good enough. So I rewrote it again and started going down the self-publishing route, which you guys are aware of, is exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to do everything.
Like, there's no one to blame if it is wrong or if it's messed up or if it's not perfect. You're like, ooh, that's on me.
Yeah. But there's also a really rewarding element to that too, is like you have full control over the book. Like, you don't have to alter your voice at all for them to like match it with how they think it'll be perceived. Like, it's literally just direct to the consumer from your voice. So although very challenging and definitely much more work, I think it's a much more direct pipeline, and therefore, like, in a lot of ways more valuable for the reader. So
I'm happier that I self-published.
Yeah.
I did have an editor that I paid, and she was like, hey, some of this tone is really accusatory. I'm like, well, I am kind of an asshole. Like, and so I rewrote some things in a better light because the purpose was still like fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to like be mean about it. And like, I wanted to be, you know, I'm kind of petty. We've talked about this. I'll go lower, but I realized like it's not about getting them back or calling them out. It's about sharing what the actual story's about. So, you know, I had to tone things down a little bit.
Yeah.
So rewrite some stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Mountaineer Books that you applied to for the traditional publishing, right? Like, I feel like you had...
Oh, I have a spreadsheet of about 150.
Yeah.
And like 4 people got back to me and just said no. One person's like, you say fuck in the first page, which has been redacted. I'm like, dang, did that like lose my book deal? And then I had one person read, I had like 3 or 4 agents that wanted the entire manuscript. And one was like, this is too Cheryl Strayed. I'm like, but it's not even the same trail.
Yeah.
If you could bring up Bill Bryson, maybe.
Yeah, tell
me
like Bill Bryson.
God, by God, I mean, he did Virginia. Like, I did the whole thing as a woman.
Yeah.
Scared.
Doesn't that mean anything?
What's the most revealing thing that you put in the book? Like, the thing that you're like, I don't know if I want to include this.
Oh, my trail romance.
Ooh, tell us about it.
Boyfriend. I can. You have to read the book. I was very hush-hush about it on my videos because I wanted something private, but it was a really important part of the story because love comes up a lot, like in how I feel about it and my relationship to like getting love from other people. And so it kind of comes full circle where I'm like in this trail romance and I'm scared and I'm reverting back to all these like bad behaviors. And then I realized like, oh, maybe this isn't about him loving me. Maybe it's not even about that at all. It's about like me realizing that I don't have to do this and we can be friends. And like it ends on a great note, and he and I are still good friends today, but his name was also Corey. So my editor, she was like, did you really write about your fiance in this light? And I'm like, oh no, that's not my fiance. That's another Corey. Cause she like knew that like my fiance's name is Corey. She's like, I thought this was like the man you ended up getting engaged to. I'm like, oh no.
Was this dude cool with you using his actual name?
I actually had people consent to use their real trail names.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to use their real trail names because for me, like, it just felt more real. And so I had all of them sign a like legal consent. And I said, like, you're all written in a good light. There's nothing negative about any of you in this book. I only changed one name, and it was on someone I couldn't get a hold of that I hiked with briefly, who was like a pretty close friend. So that's the only name that I changed. But they all were like, hell yeah. I want recognized, you know?
Yeah.
Was this the fellow that went on to start a popular Instagram account?
Oh, no. He's married to my best friend, Bruiser. But no, that's, he was like my therapist. I would go, his name is Savage. He's the one that came up with Hiker Royalty and, you know, exploded on the scene after we hiked. But he was the person I would go to, be like, he's like, Rocket, just shut up. Like, he's like, just chill. Yeah. So he was like my older brother that would just wrangle me in.
Yeah.
I think he's made fun of us on Hiker Royalty a couple times.
Oh, I think it's a rite of passage.
For
sure.
Yeah. He's made fun of all of us. So.
It's like being on Saturday Night Live. Like, it's almost more offensive if you're not made fun of than,
then I really don't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really irrelevant. You won't even make fun of me.
Yeah. So now that it's out, what was the publication date or the release date? Yesterday.
I did that on purpose because I was like, if I'm going to go to trail days, then I can like tell people it's out today. So there was a little bit of rush at the end of like, I realized there was a few loose strings that I was hyper fixating on. So we got it done and it's here.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
How's the early response been? I know obviously probably people haven't had a chance to read it yet, but just in terms of like the news about it, what is the response been?
This morning I got a message from Facebook and it was like, I am reading it on Kindle. I can't put it down. One of my beta readers was like, I cried, like, I love you. And then, Harper. Yeah. I put out there, like, if anyone wanted a signed copy, like, I thought maybe like 30 or 40 people, and over like 200 people have ordered signed copies. So now I have to get my pen hand out and all that stuff. So it overwhelming. I mean, I thought I would sell like a couple, and already we have hundreds sold.
That's awesome.
It's exciting. It's nerve-wracking, but you know, I just hope if there's any typos, please don't put it in your review. Okay.
Just send me an email.
Don't even do that. Just let it go.
Yeah.
I had dreams like up in the upcoming week that I would open the book and it would be like hieroglyphs. I'm like, how did I write this not in English? Or like one chapter would just be the letter Z.
Yeah.
All Z's.
I still have a number of typos in Appalachian Trials. We cleaned it up in Pacific Crest Trials, but yeah.
Well, you can redo for like the KDP publishing. You can
it's very easy to fix.
Yeah.
It's super easy to fix.
It's just the task.
I have other things going on.
I'm comforted by like a number of books that I've read for Mile by Mile that are like books from the shelf of Barnes & Noble that are in the featured section. Like I'll find typos in those, and part of it is like, oh my God, I just found a typo. And then the other part of it is like, if this person can get away with a typo and they're on the shelves of Barnes & Noble in the featured section, like
if Rebecca Yaros can have typos,
right.
I can have typos.
Yeah.
So it's mostly just like the week before I was double checking and I had to like re-upload. It's like a whole formatting thing. It's a nightmare. And there's like programs that you can use, but I had like redone it and I had to hand type in all the chapter titles. And like 2 days before I had to have it fully submitted, I was like, I woke up in the middle of the night, like something tells me I have to check this. And one of the words was misspelled wrong. It was somber and I had spelled it somber. And I was like, no. So I had to reread the entire freaking book in one day just to make sure I didn't miss anything else. So it was just like, it was chaos. My poor partner was just like, please put that down.
Yeah.
I love you, but you can't do this.
Yeah.
So.
Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what's next for you?
I'm probably going to start writing another book. Just kidding. I told him like, I need at least a year. I would love to write my Arizona trail book because that was an amazing trail. And I think more people need to go out there. But other than that, I just started a new specialty in nursing, which I love, my soft nursing era. Continue to teach yoga, and I would probably like to start exploring hiking again, but through my lens, through like without any type of like external pressure. I think maybe the long trail or the Colorado trail would probably be on my.
Does that mean no YouTube, no social media, or what is that?
Oh no, you'll still see me because I can't help but like want to go back and watch my own videos. Yeah. So it's like a lot of it's for me.
Sure.
You know, I like to say like I'll tell Corey like, what day do you want to go back and visit on the PCT this week? Yeah. And we'll go and like watch a video and we'll like laugh about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Right now I'm just happy to be where I'm at. I have the book is done, which has been 5 years of doubt and crying and resent that like who the hell did I think I was to write a book? Like why did we do that? Why did we do that? But
sure.
It's out and it's great, and I'm very happy. So.
And where should people go to get it? Do you want them to go to your website, Amazon?
I don't have a website. But
where did I buy the signed? Oh, that was from your Instagram.
Yeah, the signed copies you can DM me. I have to order them and then send them out. So it takes a couple of weeks. But you can order off Amazon and Barnes & Noble Press, just because I know some people hate old Jeff Bezos. So you can do that. The Audible will be coming later this year, but I just did not have the time to do that yet.
Yeah. Are you going to be reading it?
I sure am.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Yep.
Nice. And before we let you go, we do have a sponsor question. This is the Peak Performance question presented by Topo Athletic. Use our code TREKSPRING15 for 15% off your next pair of trail runners at topoathletic.com. This will be interesting given your relatively newfound interest in nutrition, not just steer where the answer is going to go, but what is your top performance enhancing or backpacking hack?
Ooh, sleep hygiene. That's been my number one, which last night sleeping in the thunder and lightning storm in the back of my car, not great sleep score today.
Yeah.
Sleep hygiene, I think, is above nutrition and water. Like it's neck and neck. So if you're not sleeping well, you're not living well.
Yeah.
100%.
Here. I slept like shit when the twins were young, and literally from like November through March, there was like 6 days where I wasn't sick. And I went through this entire winter without getting sick once while like other people in my family were getting sick. That's the only thing that changed for me. It was just like I went from no sleep to good sleep. It is a miracle drug. So.
Magnesium glycinate is the sleep drug of choice. It helps you relax. Most people are deficient in magnesium, and so magnesium glycinate doesn't affect the tummy because magnesium can loosen the bowels, but magnesium glycinate is actually geared towards rest and relaxation and sleep. So I take that before, like 2 hours before bed. Sleep scores over 90. And for women, we need like 9 hours of sleep. So
yeah. Have you tried magnesium threonate?
No, but I've heard that's on the list of short things to try as well.
Yeah. There are some good like blends out there. I don't know if they combine those two specifically, but
all magnesium is just get more of it.
Totally.
I have one of the sprays next to my bed that you spray on the bottom of your feet and you rub them together like a little cricket.
I love it.
It's nice.
Well, Julia, Rocket, thank you so much for joining us here on Backpacker Radio. Is there anything else you want to give to the listeners before we end this?
Thank you for having me, and thank you guys for letting me share my life and my stories with you guys on the trek and in my own personal life. And huge shout out to you because you saw the potential in this young hiker, and you know I owe a lot of my success to you because you helped me get a voice, and I think that voice just carried out, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. It was obviously, you were a very clear rising star, so that one was easy. And yeah, you'll do well with this book and everything that you do. So thank you for joining us here on Backpacker Radio.
Thanks, Chaunce.
Yeah.
To the Trek propaganda portion of today's show. This one is missing Sierra hiker found alive at popular PCT pit stop after weeks lost in the backcountry by Katie Jackson. Of course, a Georgia woman on a cross-country trip has been found alive after being missing for nearly 3 weeks in the snow-covered Sierra Nevada mountains. Tiffany Slayton, 27, of Jeffersonville, Georgia, was discovered Wednesday sheltering in an unlocked cabin at Vermilion Valley Resort, a seasonal wilderness resort that also serves as a popular resupply stop for PCT and JMT thru-hikers near Lake Edison, California. Her rescue brings a joyous end to an extensive search effort and is being described as miraculous. I don't know. Have you been tracking this one at all?
Yeah, I saw a bit of it on the Facebook pages and just thought that's wild that it was the place had left one door open just in case.
Is that what happened?
That's what I saw on the PCT page.
Very possible. As of this recording, there's some skepticism on the legitimacy of the story. Some of the facts don't quite add up. So this is all alleged stuff, I just want to say. But
what's the mismatch?
I don't know if it would be fitting for me to. This is basically just a lot of internet sleuths. I've seen comments on both Facebook and Reddit, and people just saying that this story maybe doesn't line up. And one of the biggest red flags is that she had a GoFundMe and her parents shut the GoFundMe down. That could just be maybe, the money raised was satisfactory for the whatever circumstance. But there were some red flags according to what I saw. So if this story ends up developing in that direction, I'm sure we will cover it on the trek. As of this recording, we don't have that, but I through the internet grapevine, have seen some skepticism around this story. So
Huh.
worth noting, all alleged. The one thing I will say in favor of the story is that investigators or the search and rescue, something related to a more official capacity, has looked into her story, and they found everything to be consistent so far. So I don't know what to believe, but yeah, I'll just say that the internet has seemed highly skeptical of it.
Imagine you like got lost and got like a miraculous situation where you didn't like perish and die, and they finally found you, and the internet was like, faker.
Yeah. So one of the things, this is a direct account from her, but at the press conference she gave, she said that when she was in the cabin, she used Siri to find the closest Starbucks, and obviously she didn't have cell service, so that's not possible.
Right.
That was
Why
one
would
of
Starbucks be what you look for? I don't know.
That's another really interesting question. So yeah,
Okay.
there were some things around this that I think were just head scratchers for people. But
Interesting.
yeah, as of this recording, we're going to assume that the story is real,
Yeah.
and time will tell.
Or it won't.
That's true. It also maybe won't.
Or it won't.
It might not.
Okay.
This next one is, admittedly, I haven't read this one because this is something we run through the survey every year, but we'll read it together. This is AT Thru-Hikers are losing a shocking amount of weight on trail. Here's how not to lose too much weight by Katie Jackson. This is just digging deeper into the statistic that we ask in the AT survey of how much weight people lose. And the survey revealed that the average weight loss for thru-hikers was around 25 pounds. Some hikers reported losing even more, with a significant number shedding between 21 and 30 pounds. How much you lost?
I fucking gained 3 pounds.
But
We talked about it in this interview,
yeah,
actually.
but I feel like it happens more often on a first thru-hike.
Yeah,
You lost,
PCT, I lost 28.
yeah,
That was great.
and that as a percentage of weight, that's a big number for you. Like 28 pounds off of me is a much a smaller percentage compared to you.
Yeah, I think I started at 138 and I finished at like 111 or something.
Yeah,
Something like that.
it is wild. But to your point, like I think I lost like 3 pounds on the AT.
Yeah, I started at 108 and I finished at 111. Again, 111.
Yeah, yeah.
What does that mean?
But it is obviously very common for people to lose a lot of weight. Never in life will you be burning as many calories as you do in the context of a thru hike. There's just nothing that compares to backpacking for 12 to 14 hours a day for months.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's so sad after, is it's like impossible to maintain.
That part, yeah. That's a really interesting thing to highlight, especially for anyone with any sort of an eating disorder, is like, this is not the way that you want to go about losing weight. Like, although you do lose weight, it is very rare that people keep it off for the long term. There's just a lot of things that happen metabolically. Typically people's diets aren't that good, and your appetite is still just ripping and roaring after a thru hike, and you're not going to be burning 3,000 to 4,000 calories per day. So more people than not end up gaining the weight back like within weeks.
Yeah, and like part that sucks after trail is, even if you're trying so hard to keep it off, it's like nothing you can do is enough.
Right.
You know, and if you do have triggering thoughts, then it's like anything I eat just gains.
Totally.
You know, and
Yeah.
that's not great.
Yeah.
That leads to some spirals.
So although it is interesting, people lose a lot of weight on these hikes. Again, don't go on a hike to lose the weight, because in the vast majority of cases that it does not stay off. There are healthier ways to shed pounds if that is something that you're after.
It's hard motivation to want to stick to a hike too, if that's the only reason you're doing it. I
And
feel like you
just
need more motivation than just that.
Yeah, and to continue the calorie burn, you just have to be a perpetual thru-hiker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suspect there's bad things happening to people's gut flora on thru-hikes if they're eating like the traditional thru-hiker diet.
Well,
Which,
Julia mentions that in the episode we just finished.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, sugar, processed foods, like just weeks, months of that is not going to do good things for you long term. So yeah, but it's fun to look thin for a little while after you.
Yeah, those
finish.
before and after photos are great.
Yeah.
And I loved myself at the end.
Okay. Question of the day. What's something you learned embarrassingly late in life?
How to eat a tamale.
Are you fucking serious?
What? Is that yours?
That is exactly
No,
mine.
is that yours?
We're usually like not even answering the same question of all the
Really?
things.
How to eat a tamale?
Holy shit. That is
Should we open a
funny.
beer?
I think we gotta celebrate that one somehow.
Wow.
That's really funny. Okay, give your story.
I just never had tamales until I started dating Garrett, and then he made them, and I was like, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know how to approach this. And then I learned that the corn husk has to come off.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. I was in San Diego when I was working for the Padres. A buddy had me over to his place. His mom had cooked tamales, and I didn't like look around to see how they were doing it, and I grabbed it like a burrito. And I remember the look on his face was like, I might as well have been taking a dump in the middle of the room or something like that.
That's why I told him at first, I was like, I don't want one. And he was
Yeah.
like, why? And I was like, just the look of it, like, I don't think I'll like that texture. And he was like, you don't eat the corn husk.
Yeah, that is so funny that we both.
Wow, that's so weird.
We've been doing this for how many episodes? I don't think we've ever had one quite overlap like that. That's funny.
And that's like not even a really common one.
No.
That's not like worst places to fart and then you say church.
Yeah. Yeah, we could have said like learn how to drive. There's a million things.
There's so many.
Yeah. Cool. We did it. Triple crown of albums.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna have any crossover here. Too many albums to pick from.
Okay.
Although based on the last segment, who knows?
I'm not like an album nerd. Like I'm not like an album junkie. I don't know albums too well. I also still listen to.
But
like,
surely you bought CDs back in your youth in the late 90s.
yeah, if we're going with those, oh my god, I gotta change my list then.
I mean, you could pick anything. A lot of the ones on my list are not necessarily from my childhood.
No, that's fine. I'll have honorable mentions if that's the case. And if that is the case, my first one is going to be NSYNC, No Strings Attached.
Okay.
I just remember when it came out, and I spun that CD in the boombox day in and day out. It wasn't the only CD of theirs I had, but that one I just distinctly remember.
Aside from the popular singles, I don't think I've heard the deep cuts on that one.
Oh.
I don't know how many.
I've got it on vinyl if you ever want to come listen to
Nice.
it. There's one called it's Digital Get Down. I think that's the name of the song. And it's all about having like internet sex. And I don't know how it went over my head as a kid, but it's like all about cyber sex, and I'm just like jumping on my bed singing the words.
Yeah.
And then you listen to it again and you're like, whoa.
ASL baby.
I remember I don't need to tell you where I was every time I listened to every song, but it's a great album.
I did see that Backstreet Boys is going to the Sphere in Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm surprised if you're going to bring one of the boy bands, you'd think it would be NSYNC.
I tried to get Garrett to agree to go, but it's too close to the wedding. And that's really sad because I really want to see them. I tested their mics for them once. They were on, I think it was TRL. It was Take Your Daughter to Work Day. My dad's a video engineer, or was a video engineer, and I had to test their mics for them. And then I drove the little electric car around the studio, and then I saw them in a stairwell. So I'm sure they remember me. I'm sure they've probably missed me,
Yeah,
and
definitely
are wondering when I'll
nonstop.
go see them again.
Yeah.
So
That was my first thought too.
yeah.
My first choice is I'm going to go with the album that I've listened to the most front to back in my life, and that is almost definitely Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. It's just good from top to bottom. I remember the first time I heard it, I instantly was obsessed. Like most of the albums that I end up falling in love with, it doesn't hit right away. Like there's usually a track or two that I'm like, yeah, this bangs. And then like because of those tracks, I'll listen to the album and then I kind of get it. But this one was pretty immediate for me. It's just fucking awesome.
I couldn't name you a single song on it, but that's okay. We've got different genres. This is hard.
Swimming pools. I am a sinner. Probably gonna
Did you do
sin.
two?
No, I need to. Oh,
good.
Forgot.
Bought some time.
I'm gonna go with a more. This is a somewhat recent discovery for me, although definitely not a recent album. And people will laugh because this is a very popular album, but Asia by Steely Dan.
What's the song on that?
Here, we actually listened to this I think a couple times at Trail
Should we
Days.
play a song from each one? I'll
You'll-
bring up NSYNC.
You'll definitely recognize because this has been sampled quite a bit.
Things I just learned recently, like what sampling is. Garrett's trying to get me to understand that concept.
Yeah, this album, front to back, is very good. And the songs are long, too. Like, the median song length is like 4.5, 5 minutes.
That is long.
I like it.
Okay, this is tough. Sticking with the childhood albums, I'm going to go with Dream. And the album was It Was All a Dream. This was one of my first CDs I got at Target Records. And it was one of my only CDs for a long time. And I was obsessed with them. And recently there's a Netflix docuseries about them and Backstreet Boys that came out.
What's the
Never actually watched it.
the band?
Dream.
I don't know if I've ever heard.
Here, I'll play
Dream,
you one of their main songs. But yeah, I never got through the Backstreet Boys Dream documentary, but I heard it was good.
All I see when I search Dream is Fleetwood Mac, which is exactly what my head went.
You recognize that album cover?
It sounds like the AI song that you played.
No.
I've legitimately never heard the song a single time in my life.
He's never gonna make it with you. Okay. Oh, but this... Okay. Sorry, that's a great album.
Yeah.
So that one, this really veered from where I was going to go with it. And the last one, I feel like I'm hurting someone's feelings here. I shouldn't have put Dream. Well, no, I had to. Blink-182, 2003, Untitled.
Yeah. Is that the... No, I'm thinking of the one.
That's the one that's got all of them, like Missing You, Feeling This, Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah. I think our Blink-182
Straight
eras
bangers.
peaked at slightly different times because I would classify the other one with the nurse putting on the glove as being the one, but... Oh,
you know, another thing I learned recently, what the album Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
Yeah.
I get that now. I didn't know that until actually we were driving back from the venue when we did the food tasting and Garrett was listening to it
And
with me in
explained
the
it to you?
car.
Or
And he was
you-
like, yeah, it's an
just
all-time
clicked?
great album name. And I
Yeah.
thought about it for a second. And I was like, whoa. Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one. And then your last one.
Oh. I guess you gotta be a little bit more careful with where you jump into a track, but yeah.
So what's yours?
My last one is going to be... I have some honorable mentions. I'm going to say this just because I went to their concert recently this week. White Denim. This was hard to narrow it down to which album I like the best, but D. And I'm sure that is not on your radar. But
Means nothing to me.
yeah, they're like a really... I'm not trying to be hipster about this, I swear to God, but they deserve way more love than they get. I saw them at Ophelia's Soapbox, whatever that place is. Have you been there before?
I don't know if I've been inside. If I have, it wasn't sober.
It's such a small venue that I've been there before to not listen to music. I've been there just to go to the bar.
Yeah.
And the stage is small. The pit area is exceptionally small. And I got to see one of my favorite all-time bands play in that venue, and it was awesome.
Oh, that's fun.
And yeah, White Denim is great. Check out all of their stuff, but especially like the first 4 albums, I would say. The recent stuff is not as good, but yeah, White Denim D.
Okay. Honorable mentions. I've got Noah Kahan's Stick Season, obviously. Love him. And I've got the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. It's a great album.
Yeah. I'm literally just going with the albums that I've probably listened to the most in my life. Gonna keep on theme with the white denim D, I'm going to go with my morning jacket Z. My morning jacket is another one where I could probably pick from 4 different albums and feel equally as strong. Beck, The Information, top to bottom, very good. And my last honorable mention is Tame Impala, Currents.
My other honorable mentions are, let's see, which album was it? I think it was Dookie by Green Day. There was one of those albums I had that I loved. And I think it was that one because I liked the cover. And then also,
Dookie is a very fun cover. You can look at it for an hour.
The other one
it's
that
like a
I
Where's
had,
Waldo of Chaos.
The Young and the Hopeless, Good Charlotte. That one I loved. I'm just going through my CDs now.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, that's probably the last time a lot of people listen to just albums. I feel like now it's playlists, singles,
Yeah.
soundtracks, that sort of deal. Cool. Looking forward to people's favorite albums. I have, in the past, like before hikes, asked for people to give me albums, and that's a thing that people feel strongly about. So get like an insane number of comments, and I'd go through and listen to a good number of them, trying to see like if it was the right vibe. And I've picked up a lot of like really good recommendations through that. So be curious to see what people propose here. Mailbag.
Hi guys, just listened to the episode on tips for the AT. At some point, you're talking about the training for the hiking. I am a sport and fitness BSc and certified online personal trainer and wanted to give some input. When it comes to reverse Stairmaster, it would work, but it's not the best option by far. For the descent, you want to work on hip stabilizer and quad eccentrics strength, hopefully in a full range of motion, ROM. Considering the stair is coming up to you, it would greatly limit ROM. The best training is walking with a heavy pack for long periods of time, hopefully on trail or with climb and descent, as mentioned in the podcast. Any stair can do. But I would highly recommend strength training. Hiking doesn't really require high strength output, 70% plus of 1 rep max, but it requires a lot of tendon strength and resiliency, and the best way to train that is strength and plyometrics. Assuming this at least some gym experience, I would structure a strength training session assuming 2 lower body sessions a week, something like this. 3 times 6 reps of squat at RPE 8, heavy and hard. 3 times 8 to 12 reps of step down with the foot in front of the box to stimulate a step descent. Superset, all caps, calf raises, 3 times 8 if possible on one leg, and tib raises, 3 times 12 to 15, followed by as much stair climber as possible.
RPE is rate of perceived exhaustion? No, what
Exertion?
is it? Exertion. Yeah, it is.
This would create a short workout that covers the basics, although I would recommend strength training a minimum of 2 times a week, ideally 3 to 4. Also, at least 1 progressively longer ruck, walk, or hike. Aim for 30 to 40% more than anticipated starting distance by the end of the plan, and avoid activity 2 weeks before the hike so that you have time to recover. Thanks for the podcast. You guys are saving my sanity as I hitchhike across South America. If you have any fitness training questions, personal or from the listeners, I would be glad to help. From Simon.
Thanks, Simon.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, I'm still skeptical of the reverse Stairmaster thing because I feel like it's just walking uphill backwards, which is a different thing than trying to simulate downhill walking.
Yeah, I'm like by no means an expert.
Yeah.
And I've also never really done that.
Yeah.
I mean, I in theory, I think it would be a good idea, but I've never walked down a Stairmaster backwards. I think I would fall.
It seems like good just overall like strength and quality of life training, but yeah, I feel like that would be not a good, again, this guy's the expert, not me.
I think the stepping off the box thing makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. To the 5-star review, this one is from Real Life Beavis. Love that. Peak BPR. I've been a longtime listener and fan of the show. I feel like the episodes and guests lately have been particularly good. I could listen to another 2 hours of Tate talk about anything, and I was at the live recording in Austin, which was tons of fun. Keep up the great work. If I get a sticker out of this, I'm checking the envelope for Oreo dust. Around to you, Zach. Yeah, no. That's only for the IRS. I think that's where the Oreo dust went to. It was something deserving. But Beavis, very much appreciate the 5-star review and coming to the Austin show.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Gotta get our next one on the calendar.
Yeah. Also, if I don't believe the Real Life Beef has screenshotted this, but if you do, send it to podcast@thetrek.co. We will send you a sticker.
Maybe Oreo dust.
Yeah. And if you want to hear your review read on this podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us any number of stars.
Just not 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Big thank you to today's title sponsor, Topo Athletic. Use our code TREKSPRING15 for 15% off your order at topoathletic.com. I don't know what there is to say that we haven't said a million times, but their trail runners fucking rock.
Happy 1 year-ish to my Topos.
Yeah?
Don't need new ones yet.
Are you wearing them now?
No, I'm not wearing any shoes.
No. Yeah. No, I love them. They were cited as the #1 brand in the AT Thru-Hiker survey. We've had innumerable guests on this podcast say that they've made the switch from another brand and will never go back. They are incredibly durable. They've got very grippy lugs and high quality midsoles. They're just all around great trail runners.
And good colors. They had a pair that was all white that I really wanted. It wasn't the model I would hike with, though. But then they also had a pair of the Pursuits that were like a navy blue, and that was really pretty, too.
Yeah. I do feel like they're up in their color game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're all the rage, and you can score a 15% discount with our code TREKSPRING15. Thank you to our Chuck Norris Award winners on Patreon. That is Alex and Misty with Navigators Crafting, Alex Kindle, Andrew, Austin McDaniel, Brad and Blair from 13 Adventures, Brent Stenberg, Brian Alsop, Carl Hood, Christopher Marshburn, Coach for Marion Outdoors, Eric Casper,
Friendly Ghost,
Eric Hoffman, Ethan Harwell Dunn, Jillian Daniels, Greg Knight, Greg Martin, Greg McDaniel, Griffin, hey, would you bring me a beer? Haley Buckingham,
Palace,
Lauren F.,
you,
Patrick C. and Cialo, Rebecca Brave, Sawyer Products, Spam, Timothy Hahn,
Solo,
and Tracy Trigger. Thanks to our guy, Paulie, at Old Man Murph's Coffee Roasters. Go to ommcr.com to get yourself some delicious beans. You can follow us at Backpacker Radio on Instagram and TikTok, at Backpacker Pod on X, Facebook.com/Backpacker Radio. You can follow Chaunce.
You can find me on YouTube at Juliana Chauncey, on Instagram at Juliana_Chauncey, and you can get my book, Hiking from Home, a Long Distance Hiking Guide for Family and Friends, on Amazon.
Appalachian Trails and Pacific Crest Trails are my books. Subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on YouTube.
Hi, Internet.
Thank you so much. And that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening, and happy hiking.
Bye.